Welcome to What We Thought Would Happen.
Welcome to What We Thought Would Happen.
Space edition. We're astronauts.
It makes you feel like a news correspondent.
Yeah.
I do feel live from the news desk.
I know.
Right?
That's what it's like.
I've always wanted to be that, by
Breaking.
the way.
Yeah.
Breaking. Like, I want to be a news anchor.
Yeah.
I could read the shit and just, like, smile while the world burns behind me.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work at our local CBS affiliate here, and when I was in college, and you don't want to be a news anchor.
Okay, so, well, let's get in that. But first, please welcome to the show, Ken Reid.
Ken Reid.
Hi, Ken.
Hello.
Live from Boston, adjacent.
So, Ken,
Indeed, yes.
are you doing stand-up regularly there, or what are you up to?
Not as much. There's kind of no clubs left, so like they all sort of dissolved over COVID. And
Man.
And I was super spoiled too because for a while I was kind of the go-to opener, so I would do like once a week I'd get like a big theater show.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all like one night or bar shows. There's no clubs. It's weird.
Everything reset, like in LA, too. I feel like the show runners and just everything changed. Like coming back out of it.
I feel like it wasn't for the better here. Like when COVID first started happening, I was like, oh, this will burn it all down and we'll get a better scene. But then it kind of got worse.
Yeah. The burn it down method, I don't think ever works out for the people who are like, yeah, we'll just reset. It's like it's some weird nuclear version of what it was before.
I was going to say the weird thing that happened was like the only people who could draw an audience during COVID were like New York City bro-y douchebags who were like, COVID's fake, bro. Come out to my show.
Yeah.
So like the bookers up here booked those people and it like self-selected like the worst people as an audience.
Yeah. From a distance, that's my understanding of what's going on in the Austin community right now is because a lot of people fled California for various reasons. But now there's this whole, I don't want to like label it alt, right? But it's very white and it's very bro-y and it's not, especially in Austin, which is like, it prides itself on being, you know, screaming liberal and all that. Okay, so wait, I really want to know about your CBS affiliate work. What were you doing? Were you like a crew or were you...
No. I worked in audience services. So when people would call and complain, it was just me in the mailroom taking complaints.
Which people do.
And doing nothing with them. But then I also would have to do like odd jobs, like run the teleprompter for the drunk sportscaster.
I love it.
Go pick up his wallet at bars.
Shut up.
Fantastic. That could have been me.
Oh, yeah.
Which one, the anchor or the runner?
Both. No, just the bar. I didn't know that's what people do.
There was a news anchor in Austin who's now in LA and she was fired for being hammered all the time. And I only know that because my friend worked at the station, but I only got the inside story after. I was just a viewer and you would be watching and be like, what the fuck is this girl's thing? Because she was real enthusiastic. She wanted to read the news. You know, she was there to do it, but she was so sloppy. It was the best show.
To run the teleprompter, it wasn't automated. So it wasn't like a full-on crank. It was digital, but you still had to like manually follow along to get their pace. And this drunk guy would go back and forth and speed up and slow down. And it was like a Lucy show thing where you're just cranking back and forth and then he'd flip out on you.
Yeah. And was it a guarantee he'd be hammered every time? Or it would like degree?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
No, I don't think he could get out of bed in the morning without it, like some vodka.
Wow. So you're surrounded by TVs.
Behind you.
Yeah. This was my studio that people would come do my podcast in. And then during COVID, obviously no one was here. And I started going on on Facebook Marketplace. And there was a ton of people doing like deep cleans. Like, we're getting rid of these old TVs. I'm like, I'll take them.
I had an old TV and I gave it to in Austin. It's called the Cathedral of Junk. But it's this beautiful TV with the channels where you open the panel and then you tune in each one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And when there were 3 colors?
Yeah. Oh my God. My aunt had that where you pulled the panel out. And it was the blue, the red, and the green, and it shot it on a mirror, and then the mirror was projected.
That's amazing.
Fucking NASA technology.
You know, it looks so cool, Ken. I thought that was a screen behind you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that projection TV that you're describing is like the classic 80s divorced dad television.
Oh my God, yes. Like, come to Dad's house. It's fun. It'll be fun at Dad's house.
He's got a satellite dish.
You're obsessed with TV?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Is it just television? Do movies ever, do you have like a movie thing too?
No, it's movies too. Yeah, I was a weird kid, and it was like I stayed up all night watching TV and movies and reading everything in the library that I could.
Yeah.
About movies and television.
Because you had to go find it, like at the library especially.
Oh, yeah.
Like card catalog. What was the other thing?
Microfiche.
Yeah. What was the newspaper thing? She uses it in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
That's microfiche.
Microfilm.
That shit.
Yes. Oh, like when you, yeah.
It zooms in on the old periodical.
Yeah.
And you scan it really fast, like you're trying to solve a mystery, like it's a fucking Pelican Brief.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm obsessed with television a lot. I love old movies. Jason had never seen the old Dracula, so we did actually just watch the old Bela Lugosi, and he loved it. I say that just because you're wearing your Universal Monster thing.
Oh, yeah.
So
Have you watched the Spanish Dracula?
Oh my
the
God.
Spanish Dracula story?
No. Is it just dubbed?
No. While they were filming that Bela Lugosi Dracula in the day, at night, same sets, they were filming a Spanish language version with a totally different cast.
Oh, hell.
So it's on a lot of like the DVDs and stuff of the Universal Dracula, but you can watch, it's like this bizarro universe Dracula all in Spanish, and there's some weird differences, and it's literally same set, same time.
Who's the actor? Who's the Dracula actor?
I can't think of his name. He's very different than Lugosi. Like he plays it like very differently.
Very romantic, yeah. Yeah, I love the like Universal era. I think that's so spooky. It's so quiet. The movies like they did the Philip Glass whatever, they re-soundtracked Dracula, and it's so fucking loud. It's like violins left and right.
I think they depended on dry ice for just about everything.
It's great.
Or a fog, or maybe a fog machine, maybe, if they have a little bit of a budget.
Don't we all?
I was waiting to watch a friend's show. This was 100 years ago, but I was sitting next to someone who was sitting alone. We're both alone. And I think it was Addams Family versus the Munsters was the origin of the conversation. But then it got back to, I thought 50s television was like the best era. And they were hardcore 60s is like the best television. Any opinion, or do you ever rate it by decade or anything like that?
I would say 60s is better only because it's that weird thing where the 50s kind of went into 1962 till JFK died. So you still have like those early 60s, which feels like the 50s.
Yes.
But then like 66, that whole season, you got the Monkees, you got Batman, you got that girl. It's a killer season. And you have like Car 54, Where Are You? And then those weird late 60s shows like It's About Time with the cavemen and the spacemen.
You know, for just like 3 or 4 channels, there was, and I don't mean diversity in like a racial way, but like top, like, you know, subject matter. There still was like a huge, crazy range of television shows.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't stand a Western. That's like my least favorite. I can never like Bonanza, Gunsmoke, Lone Ranger, like Rifleman, like fucking Rifle Me. I fucking hate those shows.
I used to stay at my cousin's house, and that's all we watched. Like, I think they were in love with Chuck Connors.
Now, he was hot.
Yeah. Well,
He was hot.
yeah, he was.
He was on the Boston Celtics.
He was? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he has basketball.
Yeah, he was in the
energy.
Boston Celtics and he got an injury, so he moved to Hollywood and started acting.
Wow. My mom loved that show.
Yep.
And it was
Brandon.
very like, I wasn't sure why I liked it so much. Do you know what I mean? Because I was like, I don't know why I trust him so much. I love so he's on a like 70s episode of Here's Lucy, and he's still like dashing and handsome. But a very stiff actor. They do some like I think she like slips him a Mickey, which is so outrageous now, but she spikes him. He's unconscious in the bed, and then they do some like laborious physical comedy.
Whoa.
But he's 6 whatever. He's huge and not really.
6'4", I think.
I don't think he's a clown from my background.
Have you ever seen his late career stuff in the 80s?
No, what is that like?
So he was in a horror movie called Tourist Trap, where he plays twin brothers. It's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but with a guy who controls mannequins.
Wow.
And, Tanya, what's her name, is in it from Charlie's Angels in that 70s show, who's dead now.
Oh, I loved her.
And the last show he did was a Fox show called Werewolf. And he played an evil, one-eyed Italian werewolf ship captain named Scorzini.
That
for God's sake.
is Chuck Connors.
That's too much. That's
That's Chuck Connors.
Is that his
Die
final?
in a pool instead.
I think he did. But it's like, you know what I mean?
More
Like
dignified.
Elizabeth Taylor's last movie is The Flintstones, which I find hysterical, right? This illustrious, beautiful career, and then that's the literal nail in the coffin.
Oh, yeah, Orson Welles' final role was Transformers the movie.
That's insane. After all that dignity. Do you know who Ruby Wax is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
PK, stand up.
She's okay. First of all, she's profiling. What the fuck is Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman? What's her name?
Oh, yeah.
Jane Seymour.
Jane
Yes,
Seymour.
yes.
So she.
I heard her on my show.
Okay, so yeah, this is back in the day when they're still in production, and so Ruby Wax is like an extra,
Oh, wow.
and she interviews these two. Have you seen this?
No.
There's these 2 ladies she interviews, and they're background extras, and they're just these women in a bonnet, and the whole thing about being an extra is you don't show your face and you get more work. because then people can't recognize you, right? So if you're not trying to be an actor, right? The less they see, the more work you get. So, but on a break, she interviews them, and they've been extras since like all those old Western days. That's like their niche. But she's like, yeah, we used to do Gunsmoke, and they have that set whisper. But that's their whole life. They're these old ladies, and they've been Western extra ladies the whole time. So wait, okay, I'm jumping all over the place because I'm also obsessed with TV and movies. But like as a young Ken, you would go to the library, you would seek things out. Would you record stuff on like VHS? And were you a nerd like that?
Oh yeah, my parents tried to get me to play t-ball, which was a mistake. And I bargained with them and said if we got a VCR so I could record Saturday morning cartoons, I'd do it. And then I got kicked off the team. But I had the VCR.
That was smart.
So I used to tape it. It was all part of my plan.
Saturday morning, what were your go-tos? What were you recording?
I was mostly a CBS guy. So I, like up until like Pee-wee, but you had like Dungeons and Dragons and Muppet Babies and all that kind of stuff.
I love Muppet Babies.
It's so good. It holds up. It's still really good.
They would mix in all the like Jim Henson B-roll or just like his content, right? So you'd be watching a cartoon Muppet Babies and they open a door and then all of a sudden there's like the Dark Crystal people staring at you. And but that would fuck with my brain. I didn't know what was happening. It was too multidimensional. But I love, have you seen on YouTube that there's people who have glued together hours of like 90s, 80s, they'll put it by year, but it's Saturday morning television?
Yeah. So in the 90s, when I was in high school and I was real cool, I used to tape trade a lot of like full broadcasts for like rare stuff.
Wow.
So the Saturday morning blocks I had and then like uncut SNL episodes were like gold in this trader market.
Yeah.
So I had tons and tons of tapes of like with original commercials, shows and rare stuff. And like when I go on YouTube or like archive.org, like a ton of the stuff is my tapes.
Wow.
I regret I carried all these VHSs from my childhood forever, and then it was just finally like I just gave up on them. But one of the things I absolutely regret was like my parents would record Scooby-Doo, right? And in some cases they would just, because it was the old days, they didn't really know the technology, so they would just push record and then just walk away, right? So there's one 30-minute episode of Scooby-Doo and then an entire afternoon of, and in this case it was 1985 because it was like approaching the sesquicentennial, and Ronald Reagan, all this bullshit. But it was like One Life to Live and like the local news. It was like, who were the guys? They were like the same name, like Johnson and Johnson, but there was a TV show, 70s, 80s.
Simon and Simon.
There's an episode of Simon and Simon in there.
Oh, man.
Really good. And I regret that because it's such a time capsule.
Simon and Simon starring Mr. Delta Burke.
Yes.
Gerald McReady.
Oh, my mom met him at the hospital in Houston, Texas. So he had cancer and he was treated at the cancer ward or whatever in Houston. And he goes back to like work with whatever patients and shit like that because they did such good work for him. Who cares? And so my mom was visiting my uncle who was there, and she took the flowers that she was gonna give my uncle and gave them to Gerald McReady instead because she's such a fan.
That's so amazing.
I love it. I was like, because that's the closest any of us are going to get to Delta Burke.
That's true.
Any dog in the fight of like designing women versus Golden Girls?
I'm a designing women. I'm an Addams Family and I'm a designing women.
Yes, me too. Yes, Ken. Yes. Totally. I'm obsessed with the Addams Family.
Oh yeah, Addams Family's great because Munsters is just like they're monsters, but it's a regular sitcom. And Addams Family, they're out of their fucking minds, and they literally, it's a fuck you money show.
It is very fuck you money.
They just have so much money and they don't care, and they just do whatever weird shit they want, and it's great.
I'm amazed by the two of you. I mean, if this were like a Comic-Con, I'd keep walking.
I've heard that many times. People have said that sort of thing to me.
Laura's like, I got out of bed for this shit. What the fuck?
No. It's just a lot. It's a lot. I had a feel. I thought you two might implode when you met.
We're finishing each other's sentences.
Or blow a fuse because you're both so similar and so smart about a specific medium.
Did you watch?
Which is kind of amazing, really.
What would you watch on Saturday morning cartoons?
Man, I was stuck. I always had to stay at my cousin's house. I feel like Tom and Jerry. And they loved watching Planet of the Apes, which I liked. But also, I didn't like watching the Three Stooges. Because I was at my cousin's. Their parents didn't get along. And so I thought, this is enough violence. I can't watch the Three Stooges. That could be any one of us. I thought it was violent.
He's got the pliers out.
But it is violent. There is they're aggressive, and yeah, I'm definitely like the Marx Brothers was more mayhem. I think that's it. It's like more clowning, and I didn't understand the fighting of the Three Stooges.
Yeah, somebody was always getting hit with a hammer.
And their noises, their noises were very perverse to me.
Yeah.
The adult people making the weird, all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
My dad loved the Three Stooges because he was a boomer who grew up in Boston, and you have to like the Three Stooges if I think it's legally obligated to like Three Stooges. And we had an African gray parrot, and because my dad watched the Three Stooges so much, this parrot picked up all the Three Stooges noises. Amazing. And it would do it all day. It would be like nyah, 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 woo, woo, all day, every day.
Would it get
the time.
Any of the words or just the noises?
It would pick up weird things. So it would just do the noises for the Three Stooges. Mm-hmm. For words, and this tells you what my household was like, it would go, Ma! Ma! What?
That's hilarious.
Oh, I love that.
Have you ever been to like a TV taping or anything? Like studio audience?
Oh, God, yeah. It's the worst thing on earth.
Oh, it's so horrible.
It is? Well, you've worked it.
Oh, yeah. You've never been?
No, I want to. I want to go as like a pedestrian.
Have you ever done warm-up for that, Ken? For anything?
No, I've seen so many comics do it, and I'm like, that is not stand-up, and you are, something's wrong with you, man.
Oh, it's so awful.
What shows have you seen taped?
When I lived in the UK, I went to a few tapings that weren't bad because they were so well organized that they kind of almost taped in real time.
Yeah.
And they were like panel shows. So I saw a bunch of panel shows in the UK, and Rich Hall had a talk show in the UK. And I went to every taping of that. But then in the US, I went to a taping of the show The Great Indoors from a few years back with Stephen Fry and Joel McHale.
Yeah.
God, because they take your bag and your jacket and you're not allowed to leave. It takes like 9 hours.
No.
Yeah.
It's so awful.
forever.
That's abusive.
Ken, you would know this. How many sitcoms had the most suicides?
Wow.
Of characters.
Oh.
That's a great
Oh,
question.
actual actors?
Yeah. I think maybe Family Affair was maybe
Wow.
top.
I'm like, well, do
there's
all the
probably a lot.
Supermans count if we put all the Supermans in one?
Well,
There's
no.
only one dead Superman suicide.
Do you know the answer?
Yeah, I think it's Family Affair.
They all killed themselves?
Yeah.
Because of the ratings?
A lot of the kid actors, yeah.
Oh, duh.
Yeah, even Mrs. Beasley, the doll, I think she wound up hanging herself by a shade.
Wow, it's so dramatic.
With her own string, I heard it was.
Yeah, you're right, Ken.
What? Are you?
That was the cruelty of it.
Because Halloween just passed. We were driving around Hollywood and doing all the like scary stuff. Like we drove by George Reeves' house. Basically every house that someone's blown their brains out in or something like that.
But I wanted to see that documentary that you were telling me about. Or we saw it, you said, Garrett. I can't even remember.
What, about Laurel?
The George Reeves.
Oh, there is one?
Well, it was a movie. Actually, I think it was a movie. Do you know what I'm talking about, Ken?
Oh, yeah. It's the one with Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
It's called like Hollywoodland or something like that.
Because it was how he died. It was kind of a mystery.
I just learned that. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I knew it was suicide, but they think the wife did it? Or that's part of
so
the...
two funny things about George Reeves' suicide is one, speaking of people that I've had on the show, and I've heard you guys talk about him before, is Tom Arnold, who's like just makes me laugh like no other.
He's so funny.
He's very funny.
He's his era of Roseanne are the best episodes. Like truly.
Yeah, he's just great. But he was living like across the street from where George Reeves shot himself.
Wow.
And I was at Tom's house and he was, you know how he jumps all over the place and he goes, blah, blah, blah. Hey, Ken, you got a Superman head. Like your head looks like Superman. Yeah, he shot himself right there. Anyway, just went on to whatever else he was talking about.
That's so funny.
Which was amazing. But there's an actor. Oh my God, why am I forgetting his name? He's on the Western show that my aunt used to call Cocksucker.
Oh my God, hilarious.
The HBO Western show that everybody watched.
Oh, Deadwood. Is it Deadwood?
Deadwood, yeah. He's on Deadwood. He's in Supernatural. But he's a writer, and he was writing a book about George Reeves.
Wow.
And he came out to L.A. to research this book, and it's when the writer's strike happened in 88, and somehow that parlayed into him writing for the new Twilight Zone and becoming an actor. And he's still been working on this book, and he doesn't think it was he thinks it was a suicide.
Because here's the thing, the wife Was it his wife or girlfriend? The lady. He has like a romantic.
I think it was a girlfriend.
Yeah.
So she comes allegedly running down the stairs saying, "Say I was here, say I was here." And of course that looks super guilty, but I can understand someone who maybe who just witnessed a suicide being like, "Oh my God, they're going to think I did it." Right.
Yeah.
So
I think that's called assisted suicide when you kill someone.
No, when you're just in the room
and say it's suicide.
Yeah, it's a medical. It's actually a medical technique. Yeah, but Ryan,
it's a murder suicide that you got wrong.
You just went out of order. You went way out of order. You shot yourself first.
Jim Beaver, that's the guy's name. Jim Beaver.
Oh, okay.
Jim Beaver.
He's writing about it. Yeah.
So I just found. Have you been to Greystone Mansion over here?
Mm-mm.
It's some old mansion over in the hills, right off of Sunset. They're like oil barons or whatever. So the Doheny man was murdered by his best friend Hugh Plunkett, which I love that. Imagine being killed by someone with the name Plunkett. That's such a joke.
Well, I get why he was a murderer.
But it was murder suicide in the mansion.
Nice.
And now people have their wedding there, which I fucking love.
Actually, Garrett's sister is this incredible interior designer, and she designed a room there. There were
at the mansion.
She got the actual bowling alley that There Will Be Blood was shot in.
Wow.
Right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was beautiful.
In the house where the blood was shot in. That's crazy.
No, There Will Be Blood. The movie.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
I'm such a nerd for old television, new television. I'm like critical of new TV because I'm such an old grumpy man. Do you embrace?
No, I'm the same way. And to your question earlier, like some of the people that I've had on, like I had Bonnie Hunt on, who's like one of my all-time favorite heroes, and like I don't know why she doesn't get talked about more because she's just like incredible.
She's so funny. Her talk show was really good.
Oh, it was so good.
And the nicest person. She's still a cancer nurse. She keeps her nursing license active.
Jeez.
She had a TV show in the 90s, right? The Bonnie Hunt Show.
She had 3 TV shows. She had one called The Building with George Clooney that she canceled herself.
Wow.
So she
Why?
she showed up the first day and she wrote all the episodes for the season herself. She like basically showed up. She's like, here's the 22 episodes. And they're like, what?
Wow.
She's like, yeah, it's the show. I wrote it. And they're like, you need to hire a writing staff. And she's like, but I wrote all the episodes. And so they were like, well, we don't care. Do you have people you want to get in the Writers Guild to hire them and they don't have to do anything?
Wow.
Because she wrote all the episodes.
Yeah.
But they tried to hire her to replace Delta Burke on Designing Women.
Oh.
And
don't even get me
she didn't like the scripts. She's like, she was living in Chicago being a cancer nurse for like $20,000 a year.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, it's fine. It's just not really for me. You know, I'm going to pass. And they're like, all right, $80,000 an episode. And she's like, no, really, it's just not for me. And they're like, fine, 100. She's like, no. And she turned it down.
Wow.
Whoa.
So wait, did they give the same offer to Jan Hooks? That's what I want to fucking know. Did Jan Hooks
Jan
make
Hooks
that kind
got
of
it,
money?
yeah. And Julia Duffy, who's a friend, got it. And Julia was just like, I'll play Stephanie, whatever.
Yeah, no, Julia Duffy's hilarious on that show.
She's so funny. She's funny, just generally hilarious.
Her Twitter was good. I like her on Twitter.
I'm such a huge fan of Jan Hooks. I think I have to go back and watch.
No, she's really funny.
She was so amazing. I remember her Sinead O'Connor from on SNL, and just she was incredible.
Were you on at the same time?
Mm-mm. I was on
Did you
a
meet
lot
her?
later. No,
Really?
I would have loved to have met her.
Yeah. I'm a huge Jan Hooks fan.
Yeah.
Like when Pee Wee died, which was also traumatic, but my first thought, I was like, oh my God, he's with Jan. Like I just love. Okay, so she's on Designing Women. She's replacing Jean Smart, who had a really funny character, and they're family members. So it's sort of like ding-a-ling Southern hillbilly kind of like.
Oh,
you just kind of fill in the blank.
Scooby-Dumb.
It is very Scooby-Dumb. That's a perfect analogy. But Jan Hooks still holds her own, and they give her some really funny lines. What did the shirt say? It's during the fucking, oh my God, who's the fucking Supreme Court Justice who left the pubic hair on the Coke can? Clarence Thomas.
Clarence Thomas.
It's during the Clarence Thomas hearings, and fucking Julie Duffy walks in with a shirt that says, she lied. And I think Mary Jo walks in with the shirt that says, he lied.
Oh, well, that's clever.
And they're just wearing it like on their fucking sleeve. I love that show.
Yeah, it was great. But yeah, modern shows annoy me. I love multicam sitcoms. And I think that they get a bad rep because that in like the late 90s, that shifted to being Nickelodeon and children's shows. And it's really hard to do a multicam sitcom well, like what we're talking about, Barney Miller. And so people just don't do it because you can't rely on like the sort of cheap gags of like a cutaway or it's a fake documentary or like what, like cinematic kind of like gags. Yeah, it's writers. Like I feel like multicam sitcom is a writer's medium and it's too hard for people to write good multicam sitcoms.
Yeah.
So they're all pretty not good.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch The Comeback?
Oh, no, with Lisa Kudrow?
Yeah.
I did, and I don't remember anything about it.
What? Oh my God, I'm obsessed with it. Because I think it encapsulates like everything about television, like making it, watching it, the fame of it all, just like everything's around the whole like industry. It's such a satire of it.
I think Action was really amazing too, but it didn't last. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Do you remember that with Jay Moore?
With Jay Moore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the writing.
I loved the famous Teddy Z in 1990, if you remember that show.
What was that?
So it was John Cryer, and it was the guys who did WKRP in Cincinnati. And they kind of Trojan horsed this show where they wanted to make a show about old guys who were agents in Hollywood. So they hired all these amazing old actors like William H. Macy and Alex Rocco. And so obviously the network's not going to greenlight that. So the show they pitched was John Cryer works in the mailroom of this agency. He gets in a fight with their, basically their Robert De Niro client. And that client's like, I want him to be my manager. So now he's a manager. So that was like the first 2 episodes. Mm-hmm. But then after that, they kind of don't even bother to have John Cryer in it. And it's just about these Hollywood agent guys. But there's one episode where this couple who made a documentary about Sandinistas gets hired to make a TV show for one of the networks. And by the end of the episode, their Sandinista documentary show is now about a girl in a tube top with a talking porpoise.
Good Lord.
Every single move along the way makes sense. Like when you watch it, it makes sense how it gets from A to B, and it's so accurate for how those shows go.
Wow.
Do they actually have a porpoise?
Yeah, because it's one of the execs will be like, this is kind of depressing. Maybe it could be like a younger girl as the main character. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay. And then it's like, oh, well, now she doesn't have anyone to talk to. Maybe she could do something environmental like save dolphins. And they're like, okay. And then it's crazy.
On 2.5 Men, when Charlie Sheen was having his very public whatever, I don't know what people want to call it these days, but that was happening and the show was shut down.
Stand-up career.
That exactly. Oh yeah, I went on tour. Fuck that. Anyway, but the show was on hold for a minute, and I don't even give a fuck about that show. I actually hate that show. But John Cryer, people don't understand unless you've lived through television, particularly late 80s and all of the 90s, is that John Cryer was on every pilot you ever saw that made it to the air. Every television show that lasted 6 episodes had John Cryer in it. Not to say he was the bad thing, but he finally had a ticket, right? He had a #1 show, was making crazy network television money, and then some other asshole who's part of a showbiz dynasty and already has the ticket, right? Already has the way in, the check, doesn't even need it, right? Is the one fucking up the game. That was my #1 thought. I was like, I never thought in the world I would be sympathetic to poor John Cryer, but this is his chance.
But John Cryer is a saint. That's who I'm working with now on the extended family.
That's what I mean.
He is an angel. And he's so damn funny.
But listen, what was the name of the show? The Fabulous Mr. Z. Terry? What was it?
Famous Teddy Z.
That one.
Yeah.
And that's how long
if you're working with John, ask him about it.
Oh, he is a sweetheart. Yeah, I definitely will. Yeah.
But he's been in the game so long. And I was like, you have this fucking movie star fucking up your ticket. I always thought that was so... And he was very diplomatic about it.
Yeah.
It's interesting because actually Bonnie Hunt told me this, the networks always had someone they loved that they try to slot and stuff all the time. Like George Clooney was one of those for NBC.
Yes.
They put him in a million shows until ER hit.
Correct.
John Stamos was one of those. There's always these people that they signed for the whole thing. And so for Bonnie's second show, halfway through the season, they were like, you need to recast these 2 roles who were people she knew from Second City and she'd worked with forever. Because we have, and one of them I think was John Cryer. They're like, we have John Cryer and Valerie Bertinelli under contract and their shows got canceled. So you need to put them on your show.
Oh, wild.
And she was like, well, if the people who I have to fire were doing a bad job, I'd do it. And, those actors are great. But instead, I'm just going to cancel my show.
Wow.
So what was that show called? The second one she had?
That was called The Bonnie Hunt Show.
Okay,
and then she had a second Bonnie Hunt show. And then one called Life with Bonnie in the early 2000s.
I watched the 90s one because I liked it. Anything that was like Roseanne, Grace Under Fire, like strong female lead, like sassy. I don't know. Bonnie Hunt, her talk show is very funny. She's naturally a funny person.
Are there a lot of strong female leads in sitcoms right now?
I don't even know.
It seems like it's always couple. It seems like it's always a couple.
Yeah, very king of queens.
Yeah.
See, that's the era. I can't take it. Like my friend, I knew her too. She's dead. I can say it's Dia de los Muertos. So this is for my friend. She passed away. And my friend was engaged to her, right? And we were really sad. And he was devastated, right? This is the day of, right? She's gone, and we're drinking, and it's a horrible, horrible, horrible day. And then he's just beside himself, and out of nowhere, he's like, she loved the King of Queens. And I didn't say anything. I didn't say a word. I just bit my tongue.
You let it slide.
I didn't say a word. And he goes, I never have to watch that show again.
That's so great.
And it was
I'm so
the
glad.
one silver lining he could find in the whole fucking day. And I was like, I'm so glad he said it, because I was about to be like, she had horrible taste in television.
Yeah.
Like God rest her soul. I hate that show.
You know, so much of life, I think, too, like early on, was around TV. Anytime you spent with your family, anytime you know, accidentally spent with your family, it was around the TV, right? It's,
Totally.
You know,
Yeah, and
it mattered.
So you had true broadcasting. And I think a lot of us, and I think we might have talked about this when you did my show, Laura, was like, especially those of us who went into comedy and stuff, who all of us obviously had weird home situations. But we would watch our parent or whatever adult, we'd watch them watching a show and then try to reverse engineer like human reactions. Like they're laughing. Why? Why did that? I don't understand it, but why did that make them laugh? Like everyone I know who went into comedy seems to have done that.
Ken, you had on your album, which was great. Ken's comedy album was so well done. And I remember there was a story. It was about your dad and it was a snake or something.
Oh, a snake. Yeah. A snake and a tegu.
What is a tegu?
Yeah. A tegu is like a small Komodo dragon monitor lizard.
Okay, yeah.
So are they dead?
So-
They're not deadly, but or are they?
They're not deadly, but I wouldn't mess with them. Like they can break a horse's leg with their tail, and they're just like awful.
What?
They're not pets. So,
like with
yeah.
a snap?
So
Like
my
a whip? Like a...
Yeah, like a whiplash thing.
Oh, okay.
My dad grew up really poor, and so he always wanted like pets. Like he always wanted a monkey when he was a kid, because you used to be able to buy them at like this place called Zare, which was like Target. They used to sell monkeys.
That's where I fell
Yeah.
off.
Oh yeah, they were in upstate New York.
They had a little. One of the first times I fell on my head was at Zare. They had the 25-cent, the little horse outside, the mechanical horse outside.
Yeah.
My two cousins got on, pushed me off the edge, and I fell on my head at Zare. Oh, my
better
warm
than my
memories
dad
are about
fared.
falling on my head. But I'm sorry, go ahead. Ken, please finish.
Oh no. So they sold monkeys there, and he wanted one. So he saved up for like years to buy this monkey, and he saved up extra money to buy the monkey and a couple outfits for the monkey.
Oh my God.
And when he got there, they were basically like, they just passed a law that we're not allowed to sell monkeys anymir. And he was so mad because if he hadn't saved up for the outfits, he would have been able to
had
to
the
buy
monkey by now. I would have had the fucking monkey by
like
now.
if he was cool with a naked monkey, he'd have one. So forever he like had this hole in his life for exotic pets. So in the 80s, like he was doing all right comparatively, and we would go to this pet store, and they literally, the owner would come out and like take us into the back room and be like, check this shit out. And it would just be like weird exotic animals. And my dad would buy them, and then he'd show everyone he knows and be like, you ever see this? And then it would die because they're not supposed to be pets.
Right.
So like tarantula, like all kinds of crazy stuff. So he wanted a snake, but somehow said that I wanted a snake so that he could buy one and justify it as a gift.
Blame the kid.
And this was Christmas. I was probably like 10 years old. Did not want a snake. Right? So he took me to a WWF match because Jake the Snake Roberts was wrestling, and thinking I'd be like, that's pretty cool.
This story has so many layers.
Still didn't want a snake.
Yeah. Keep
Oh
going.
yeah.
I
Still
hope your
didn't want a
dad is
snake.
living on a preserve somewhere right now
A snake farm?
with animals.
He's up in Maine, so kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He's in a trailer park in Maine.
Okay.
So he, even to the point where, and I joked about this on stage, but this is true, like my Christmas list that year was one item, and it was not a snake. That was like my entire list. I was
What
like,
was that? What was the item?
just don't get me a snake. You got me everything I wanted. So I go down Christmas morning, and there's a box there, and I had totally forgotten about the whole snake thing. And I opened it, and it's a ball python. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And for a second I was like, I don't know what you got me for Christmas, but somehow like a snake ate it and is in this box. Like I was just totally baffled. And my dad picked the snake up. He's like, yeah, it's a snake. Woohoo. And the snake peed all over the carpet because it's a snake. Like they don't care. And my dad rubbed its nose in it.
No.
Like it's a dog. Like he's going to teach it a lesson.
Oh my God.
And the the thing got really mad, and then he was cleaning up the pee with a paper towel, and his hand's going real fast, and the snake just latched onto his hand.
Oh my God, no.
Because and they're not poisonous. So he starts freaking out and like whirling his hand around his head with the snake attached to it.
What the fuck?
And he starts screaming, "Get the machete! I need to cut its head off."
No.
This is Christmas Day, right?
This is Christmas morning, yeah.
Everybody
Santa's
remember
half-eaten
Christmas
cookies
morning.
are right there on the table.
Yep.
What the
Get
fuck?
Get the machete, I need to cut its head off. And then it just fell off his hand and he didn't do it. But it was this is not how Christmas is supposed to go.
What a cliffhanger.
And then he bought it.
What a
he bought
fucking cliffhanger.
Wait.
Okay, wait, stop. You froze.
Ken.
Hang on.
Okay.
You froze
Okay.
right before I think we were going to say what happened to it. So he's saying, get the machete. I have to cut its head off. And what?
Oh, yeah. He's saying, get the machete, I need to cut its head off, which is perfect Christmas morning fodder. And then it just fell off his hand. It was like, this is not food, and fell off. So nothing happened. And then we all just kind of stood there in silence for a few minutes.
Did it like gum his arm or did it bite, like teeth bite?
It bit him.
Wow,
Yeah.
like blood?
It was attached.
Were your parents divorced at this
and
point?
we were all laughing.
Ken, were your parents still together at this point?
Oh no, they got divorced, and one of the main reasons was the tegu. My dad bought this giant lizard, and it lived in a fish tank on top of my mother's hope chest on her side of the bed. and it used to eat rats, and
No!
you'd get all the
That's
kids in the
disgusting.
neighborhood would come over and
Yeah.
watch it eat rats.
Yeah.
And
now
No,
your
no,
fucking
no.
house, your bedroom is the reptile farm. Yeah, I'm on your mom's
Yeah.
side.
Horrible.
And then this thing, it's not a pet and it's vicious. And so one day we were out on like a Saturday morning shopping with my mom,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad and my uncle got a little drunk and decided to give the tegu a bath because they're like, it's been eating rats, it needs a bath.
Disgusting.
And so we come home and my dad's screaming, and this tegu's at the top of the stairs and like hit a hole in the wall. And so we just got a hotel, and this thing went nuts in the house.
It's Jurassic Park. You come home and it's fucking the last 10 minutes of Jurassic Park.
Jesus.
The dinosaurs are in
Yeah.
the gift shop knocking shit over.
The best postscript to that story is my uncle used to rent the in-law apartment in our basement. My gay uncle, who my dad refused to believe was gay. And at one point I said to my dad, I was like, "Dad, he's gay." And then he goes, "No, he isn't." I go, "Dad, he lives with his boyfriend." And my dad went, "That's his buddy.
No. That's so last century. I love
and I
that. It's
actually
his
went-
roommate.
It's his roommate." And I think I was like 14. I went, "Dad, how many beds are down there?" And he was like, "Well, there's only one." And it just like hit him all of a sudden.
Oh, the boyfriend lived in the apartment, in the basement apartment.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wait a second, Ken. So it was
So,
only you
my
and your
uncle-
brother? You have a brother, right?
My sister.
It's just you and your
I had
sister
a younger sister.
dealing with all of this.
Yep.
What's it
Yes.
like? So
100%.
something that I forget is that you had to negotiate. I don't know how many TVs were in your house at the time, but watching TV with a sibling, that was war half the time. And one of my sister's classic moments, I'll never forget this, is we were having a fucking fight. I never was really bossy. But if it was a nerd fest, right? And it was always something like, in this case, 120 minutes, which I think the Smashing Pumpkins were on or some bullshit, or Lectoriums. So I had to watch ahead because you didn't know where in the 2 hours it was going to show up. So my sister and I are fighting over who's going to watch whatever. I swear she wanted to watch Rolanda, which was a great talk show, but who cares? So we're literally fighting. And my sister, with no sense of irony or anything, I was like, I just want to watch this one until they're on, and then we can change the channel. And she goes, well, how long is 120 minutes? Like, no. Like, and then she's just staring at me angry, waiting for the answer. I was like, I don't know how you don't know that I've already won this fucking argument, you stupid. But watching, unless you agreed on it, which I never did, nothing I wanted to watch was in my sister's interest. You know what I mean? And there was only going to be one winner, and then the other person would go storming out the room because you can't sit and watch something you don't want in silence.
Right.
What was would that?
But you had to
happen
learn to make a case.
Right.
Yeah,
you had
you
to
did.
be like, no, this is good because.
Yeah.
Are you friends with your sister, Ken?
No, she actually passed away about 10 years, more than 10 years ago.
Oh no.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Both my mother and my sister are dead, and so it's just me and my father.
Yeah.
Oh.
What would y'all watch though? What was your sister as kids? Was that like a thing you had to like? You had to war with?
We didn't agree that much. She was like sporty, so she'd always be out at like
Oh.
a soccer game or like have some kind of thing. And she also wasn't allowed to be in the house alone because she would like set fires.
Yeah.
So
She was the
I often had the TV to myself. And
I
then
don't know how you
saved up money.
I don't know how you survived. You have a pyromaniac sister.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad had
A tegu.
Yeah, like the land of the lost.
Which
giant animals in the house.
Where's your dad from? Does he have an accent? Does he have like a hard Boston accent?
He weirdly doesn't. He grew up in Brockton, which is a pretty rough city south of Boston.
Because you apply an accent to the word tegu and it sounds super gay. Like the tegu's out. You know what I mean?
So here's the postscript of that tegu story. Mm-hmm. So my uncle was down in his apartment, and my uncle used to hang around with all these like bodybuilder guys who were all gay. My dad didn't know. And my dad was down there drinking beers with them on a Saturday, and he's like telling them what happened with the tegu the week before. And they're all laughing at him like, you were afraid of a little... So my dad goes upstairs and puts on gloves and grabs the tegu and goes downstairs and throws it into the apartment and then shuts the door and locked it.
No.
What?
So you heard all these guys screaming, and then someone threw a chair through the window, and then they're all diving out of the apartment window.
Yes, I would be too. I would be running from a fight. That's a crime, right? Throwing an illegal exotic in a room full of queers. That's a hate crime. That's actually what Stonewall was. People think Stonewall was throwing a brick. Yeah. No, it was throwing a fucking tegu in a basement full of gay dudes.
And with all that cancel culture and political correctness, you can't even do that anymore.
Right, you can't even say tegu.
Now, I feel bad about this. I feel bad about this lizard. What the hell happened to it?
No one's asked what happened to it.
So after that incident, my mother was like, this thing's out of the house. So my uncle gave it to his friend who just got out of prison.
This fucking lizard.
Who was like...
Shit.
This guy, it was like, who do we give this to? How about this guy just got out of prison? And so he takes it, and about 2 weeks later, we come home one day, and there's a canvas bag on the front steps, like wriggling.
No.
And it's the tegu that the guy was like, I can't handle this thing.
No. What was the tegu's name? Do you even name a thing like that?
No, I don't think you can. So my dad sold it back to the pet store.
Oh.
They bought it back? That's crazy. Yeah. But it also said tegu sounds like a Scandinavian car. Like, do you want to take the tegu?
Ooh.
Right?
I like that.
You buy that, right? Yeah. Should we take the Saab or the tegu?
God, that tegu goes from 0 to 60.
It's like that.
2.4 seconds.
It goes from one crazy family to another. This tegu. God almighty.
Cursed object.
Yeah, it's like something you bought. It's like that Simpsons. It's the monkey paw from the Simpsons, but in this case, it's a tegu from the fucking Nares. What was the store?
Zare.
Oh yeah, Zare used to sell all kinds of weird stuff.
But in your dad's defense, way back to the monkey and saving up for the clothed edition is because there's nothing more unusual than a naked pet monkey. Like, you know what I mean? You see it in a costume, even a diaper is enough. But you just see like a monkey walking around, that's too raw. It needs to be like a bellhop.
But saving up for the clothes for an animal, I mean, I hate to tell you, Ken, your dad's gay.
There's lots of
many
flags.
People have said that.
Lots of red flags. Wrestling reptiles with gloves
now he's going to come after me with an anaconda or something on a leash.
Yeah, but
he was in the Navy.
You're an animal lover. Oh, he was? See, that's the thing. That's what it was. Yeah, it's just that old world queer.
Yeah, they're the rough ones.
Yeah, well, honestly, you could be more fluid. I'm totally for closeted behavior because it had people just want to be more gender fluid and shit. It's like you don't talk about it, nobody knows.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a very specific Boston flavor of gay dude that's like a tough guy gay dude that we have here that like is just like, shut the fuck up, I'll kick your fucking ass if you say I'm queer. It's a really weird.
Oh my God, Ken, do you remember? And he had like a Prince Valiant haircut, and I loved him so much. This comic, was it Mike Sullivan? He used to lay on the stage and go, I'm not queer, or whatever. Is it Mike Sullivan?
Yes.
Oh,
I think so, yeah.
I loved him. He was so damn funny. And this was like, this was late 80s. He'd be on the floor like he was asleep, and then he got really, then he'd say, queer. No, I'm not queer, right? Or is that what it was? Something like that.
Like he's waking from a nightmare.
Yeah. Oh, he's hilarious.
Speaking of gay uncles, you're familiar with the Paul Lynde Halloween special?
Of course, with Kiss.
Yes, and it's Kiss's first like television premiere or like television appearance.
It is.
Are you into like the Bruce Vilanch? Do you and his like interviews and things about
variety shows?
Yeah, all that kind of thing.
So I've talked to Bruce a bunch of times trying to get him on my show for like years back and forth and still haven't got him. And I learned this. Did you know Bruce Vilanch wrote a song for the Village People?
No.
So when you get home, go Google the song Sex Over the Phone by the Village People and then watch the gayest music video I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
But I didn't really like his stuff that much. But the lady who I had on, who was the page at NBC, she told me Paul Lynde, they had to hire a guy to be with him in his dressing room full time to make sure he didn't come out and mix with people because he was drunk and nasty all the time.
Wow. Oh my gosh, tell me something. Yeah, I see those. That's the shit I want to know. Like all that. There's so the extended PBS documentary about Lucille Ball, but then they put the whole interviews online, the entirety, right? And one of the guys, he was on all of her shows. He knew her like to the last minute. But I think it's from Here's Lucy, where the wardrobe lady forgot like a belt that was like a very important prop. So Lucille Ball hauls off, and this guy's just telling the story like it's nothing, right? Hauls off and slaps her across the face.
No.
Her ring cuts her. The makeup lady's like, I'm gonna sue you, report you to the whatever. And Lucille Ball won't continue the taping until the lady is off the premises, like car off the entire studio lot. And then the dude just goes on and telling us like, but she should have remembered the belt, and just keeps telling the story about an amazingly abusive moment, right? Like just wildly like.
My two favorite, and these aren't my stories, but they've told them on my show. So my two favorite like weird celebrity stories like that is a friend of mine was in a movie with Faye Dunaway, and this was like in the 90s maybe, and Faye Dunaway was a monster. So she was supposed to wear this dress, and it was like a whole thing with the producer and the director, and they finally agree on this dress she's supposed to wear, right? So it's the day of shooting, they put the dress in her trailer, and they're like, she won't come out, she's not wearing that dress. And so the director was like, well, she's going to fucking sit in there until she puts fucking dress on. Wow. And they waited for 2 days. And then Faye Dunaway took a shit on the dress.
Fantastic.
She took a shit on the dress. And the assistant director was like, the dress,
whoa, lady, talking about a special lady. And the lady is mine.
Shit on the dress. The director goes, take that dress to the dry cleaners and put it back in her trailer.
Wow. That's
and they did, and she put it on and did the scene.
Wow.
Whoa.
Like animals. Everyone's just fucking animals.
A Tagu was better behaved than Faye Dunaway in that situation.
But isn't it Betty Davis on like Carson or some late, like in the 80s, is on a talk show? Is it Carson? And they're like, who's the most difficult person you've worked with? And without blinking, she goes, Faye Dunaway.
Right.
For all my money, Faye Dunaway.
And he said, a young actress named Faye Dunaway. I think she said a young actress.
She reads it, yeah.
Yeah.
But she quotes, isn't that just, she says for all my money or for $1 million, something like that. Just doesn't even blink. I fucking love that.
Then a friend of mine was directing this movie with Priscilla Presley in it. And so it was the first thing she directed. And she gets a phone call from the wardrobe person, and they're like, we got a problem. And she goes, what? She goes, Priscilla won't wear jeans. She says they're for poor people. Elvis told her they're for poor people.
Yes.
Right.
She's not wrong.
I guess when Elvis was growing up, if someone had jeans on in Tennessee in the 40s, they'd be poor,
100%.
So she won't wear jeans. So she has this whole conversation with her. It takes so long. They finally convince her to wear the jeans. A week later, they're shooting a scene, and it's like at a funeral. So she has to wear like a black dress and everything. And she gets a call from the wardrobe person again and goes, we got a big problem. Priscilla won't take off the jeans.
What?
They go, she loves the jeans. She doesn't want to wear the dress. She wants to wear the jeans at the funeral. And so they had to have this whole conversation again.
God
and she
almighty.
was like, look, if you wear this dress, you can keep the jeans. And she was like, fine.
Unreal. What a head case. I love that. It's that bullshit. I'm so obsessed with that. Yeah. Wait, have you ever talked to Priscilla Presley?
No, but there's a few people that I know who worked with like Bowie, Elvis, or Jim Henson, and I always talk to them like they met a friggin' mythological creature.
What have you learned about Jim Henson?
Really good guy, but like I always call him a fuck you hippie, and that he was the kind of hippie who was like, you guys are fucking everything up. Like,
he's grumpy.
You're ruining everything.
Yeah.
Corporations was like angry.
Yeah.
But was really smart and just like a good dude.
So not to call him a weed smoker, but like there's something about when you smoke too much weed, you become an angry hippie. You know what I mean? There's like there's a line you cross that where it's like you kind of become grumpy.
Yeah.
It's like your stash runs out, or you got too high too early in the day. It's like, why is he so moody?
Yeah.
There's a picture of all the like Dark Crystal kids, like all the puppeteers and everybody, and they're just all these hippie kids. They're just all like bell bottoms and long hair, like they just look so cute. Yeah, when I die, I want like Nina Simone and like Jim Henson and like, you know, like Dracula clad Bela Lugosi like waiting for me. But I want Jim Henson there.
I'd like to be reanimated, but I don't think anyone would notice.
They might be like, Laura's really active lately.
Have you met AI Laura? She's so pleasant. And I'm like, it's me, goddammit.
I'm interested in things besides
She's been playing pickleball.
I do want AI me. Would you just sign a release and then be like AI you, and then you never have to leave the house?
I think maybe a hologram.
Hologram Laura.
I like those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see The Flash? The most recent one with
Yes.
Ezra or whatever. Okay, so they do there's fucking George Reeves, and then there's Nicolas Cage
and Christopher Reeve.
Yes.
Oh, I need to see that.
It's nuts though. So like, how does that? Because you know George Reeves didn't sign a fucking contract, or maybe he did.
No,
But like, how does that work? There's dead ass George
that's
Reeves.
part of
the franchise.
that's part of the SAG thing, right? Where they're like,
Oh.
because the studios are like, if we had you in a movie and we own that movie, we can use that footage for whatever we want,
Yeah.
basically.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy.
But then people are like, no, you can't. After I'm dead, you're going to put me in a different movie? No.
Yeah. So there's I'm such a nerd.
I think that might be the only way I could stay in a movie.
Is to release release it away.
If I was dead, and then they say, "Yeah, well, let's use this." We don't know.
Actually, my most talented work is technologically manufactured. There's tons of people I totally wish I could have met or talked to or interviewed. And like Dana Gould's Vampira story is like the perfect example. I'm like,
Yes.
I cannot believe, right? Like that's so epic to me because
Mm-hmm.
when he was her friend, I was literally bringing quarters to my junior high to put in the payphone to call Beverly Hills to try to get 411 to like, you know, information when you call information to get someone's phone number to get, you know what I mean? Like, and he was living that life. So are there people like that you wish, you know, maybe dead or things like that are just out of reach? Like, cause your TV movie knowledge is so vast.
Yeah, there's definitely, and then I sadly have to go in a minute, but yeah, there's definitely people that like I was emailing with and to be on the show, and then they died. Not like while I was emailing with them, but Tim Reid was one of them from Barney Miller. Paul Rubens, absolutely. Like I never got to talk to Paul, but I'm friendly with Cassandra Peterson, and
Wow.
she's amazing.
Wow.
But I never got to talk to Paul.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
I think those are probably the big ones. I've been really lucky and have gotten to talk to a lot of people that I really admire.
Pee-wee hit hard when he passed. Like that was really sad.
Yeah.
He was a Saturday morning fixture for me. I had Pee-wee pajamas. I would tear ass out of bed to like catch, because he was on it really early too. I remember him being on at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. So you could miss it, and that was like
And Lawrence Fishburne.
everybody
He was so
was on.
amazing.
Yeah.
Ken, I know you have to go. What would you like to plug?
I have my show TV Guidance Counselor. I'm on year 10. We've got 650 episodes, so
Amazing.
that's still happening.
That's crazy.
I'm working on doing another album that I'm hoping to have out in like the first quarter of 2024 around that 10th anniversary. But that's about it.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's great.
Congratulations.
I know. I want to ask you.
Well, Ken, with Ken, you need a part 2.
I know,
So we're going to
maybe.
have to
We'll-
talk to you
yeah,
again.
we won't
We're
keep
gonna
you
have you
waiting
back
this time.
Have
on.
me
Yeah.
back anytime.
So, okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Who was Aaron Spelling's first wife?
Oh, that I don't know.
Oh, I love that. Okay, Carolyn Jones.
Wow.
Oh,
She was
okay.
so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I thought you would
Yeah.
know that. I wanted
He's
in
a
on
turtle.
on an Adam Sandler. He is a turtle.
I know. I'm sad I didn't know that. But I learned something.
See, look at that. Yay! Okay, really great to
Okay.
meet you. Thanks for
Thanks
being
so
on.
much, Ken.
Yay! Bye.
You too. Nice to meet you, and nice to see you again, Laura.
We're going to talk to you again. We have to have
Yeah,
you back
awesome.
on because there's so much to say. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Cool.
absolutely.
Thank you.